In the quiet hours of dawn, when most of the world awakens to the promise of a new day, Kapam, a community in Chikun local government area, Kaduna State, wakes up to something else. Something dangerous. An acrid stench fills the air, penetrating their lungs, seeping through their homes. The invincible threats blanket the atmosphere. They soon discover the stench to be gas emission from the Kaduna Refinery and Petrochemical Company (KRPC).
We now see the community, the way environmentally is changed. Totally changed with smoke. We don't know where the smoke comes from. Before we know everything, we started having eyes problem. Even now, as I'm talking now, one of my side like this, I'm having a dim. Because since that time we just have a pollution area.
When KRPC was commissioned in 1980, the community anticipated a better quality of life for the locals. They were hopeful of jobs, infrastructure, and prosperity for the region. Kapam, a traditional farming community, saw KRPC as a beacon of hope, a partner in their journey towards a brighter future. But in the years that followed, the relationship turned sour. On August 27, 2024, Kapam residents started perceiving what later turned out to be chemical emissions from the KRPC. They had no idea the gas leaks will have a devastating impact on their health, livestock, and crops. The residents, not knowing what hit them, took to the refinery premises to protest. Following a series of investigations, it turned out that the gas emitted was hydrofluoric acid. The gas was stored for 20 years without use by the refinery. Hydrogen fluoride is a colorless chemical compound that contains fluorine. It can also exist as a fuming liquid. When hydrogen fluoride is dissolved in water, it becomes hydrofluoric acid. High levels of hydrogen fluoride can be released when storage facilities are damaged. The chemical can quickly go through the skin and into the tissues in the body. It then damages human cells and organs. When Kapam residents find out about the potential harm, they became agitated, culminating in a protest where residents demanded compensation for damages.
They took us where those leakages was experienced and based on the components of the hydrofluoric acid, because you have to understand the chemical component that was released itself. They showed us an area where they think it leaked out from that portion. And because of that, the component of hydrofluoric acid, the characteristics, it is lighter than air. And because it is lighter than air, whenever it is being emitted, it goes straight into the atmosphere because it cannot hover in the atmosphere. It goes straight. But during that process of emission, the relative humidity was high. And because the relative humidity was high, the gas mixed with the high humidity and became an acid rain. That was the simple chemical explanation on what really happened. And when the droplets now drops as acid rain, and it came down as hydrofluoric acid, and any contact with a green vegetation of that hydrofluoric acid will leave a devastating effect. It will affect the chlorophyll, that is the production of food to the plant. So once it is being distorted, the plant die off naturally. That is the physical thing you will see. Inhalation of the gas itself has either diverse effects on the internal organs of a system, of a human being. So these are things that may be there for a long period of time.
3 months after, the effect of the chemical exposure can still be seen in plants and crops around the community. With agriculture being the major source of income, many have lost their livelihood.
abin da mu yayi muka kuka ga na gabanmu na farko mun gaya ma sarki kuma ya gaya ma na gaba da shi hakimi sannan kuma suka je gidan sagbaki aka gaya mai sai suka zo suka duba wuraren su da gaske ne ai barnan da aka je aka gaya ma Refinery ta ce za ta ɗauka mataki to matakinta sun ce kamin su ɗauka wani mataki bari su kawo mana wanda za su yi goji domin abun ya afeti mutane da yawa wanda sun shaka wani abun har an zo ana amai ana tari wasu aka zo da aka kwanta da su asibiti sun ce to kamin su fara wani abun biyan diya na barnan bari su duba wanda ba lafiya tukun sai suka kawo mana masu doktor kwana 2 da suka gama goji ba su ma kai kwata mutane ba sai suka ce ai da sun fara goji sun ga malaria ne kawai da typhoid suka tafi suka ɗiba kasa da suka ɗiba da amfanin gonakinmu sun ce su ma za su je su yi goji su ga menene zai affect kasan na gaba ta har wayo ba abin da suka yi mana ba sai ba mu komi ba muna nan ma yunwa ne muke fama da shi.
Samson loses all his crops planted on this farmland. Here is another victim.
Ya goya munu. Ya goya mu a saitu, a kaidaitu. Watan na goma. Yiba ga yayi buhu a yayi tallo. A yayi kujina. Yiba ga shi buhu a shi tallo a shi kujina. To ado igbogukun ya gba ya gajue ribaitu ta kaya tele iba kun iba gajue ribaitu ha iya fiji ite boye ife la ta da ba ko gai ba dai ya hawo ga kula police station ko a file yi court to gwamnati yibuci gwamnati ko kaiwe kwa mu yawe ya ye kula wahala an ga tun daga wata na goma aka yi ga iyayen ya gisi ya hotelin a zanta wani kwa biyan kwayo a kafa mutum ya hotelin ga ya ta yi tibu kwa gwamnati kwa kaiwe kwa mu yawe ya yi ta yaji ilo yi buce na gwamnata ba.
The bags of yams planted here couldn't survive the impact of the chemical. Akinola Olunowade, a father and a husband, is yet to recover from the total loss of his crops as a result of the refinery's emission.
The one they release now is the most dangerous type of chemical I've ever seen. Though we perceive some, for me, I have been in this place since 2011, and this is 2024. You understand? But those things, they are not harmful. They may be, I don't know, but they are not harmful. We have chicken that we train, we have dogs, we have goats. But this one, every of our goats died. All our goats died, chicken died, everything you can think of died. And since this thing happened, people in this environment have been visiting the hospital.
Kapam community is in a dire situation, as the impact was not just on crops, but also on human health. Paulina Gideon inhaled the gas, fainted and was rushed to the hospital. She says she has not fully recovered ever since.
Na da bude ido dai na gani a cikin drip. Sai sun tambaye ni ya aka yi sai na yi musu bayani. Ga yanda aka yi na dai jijiri ne kawai amma ban san yanda aka yi na shigo nan ba. Sai suka tambaye ni da cewa ina da hawan jini ne? Sai na ce musu a'a ba ni da hawan jini. To tun daga ranan kirjina zafi. Tun da abin ya faru ban gane kaina kuma ba. Tun da abin ya faru ban gane kaina kuma ba. Ina shaka nufashi haka sai ji zafi irin sai kasa gane ma ya ne zan yi ma mutum bayani ya gane yadda ina jin zafi din daga nan. Abun kamar ulcer har ma da ciwon kai. A ranar da jikina gaba daya biya yi weak gaba daya.
The government just give paracetamol and anti-malaria. That one is usual now for the government to give anti-malaria for the community. That's what they did. Apart of that, nothing. We are living in a situation that today, like that of my friend, she's sick. It's all because of this chemical she perceives. We have high blood pressure. So sometimes I make our BP to be high when we perceive the odor. Sometimes to bring dizziness for us.
Gaskiya warin bai tsaya ba. Warin bai tsaya ba har yanzu muna jin warin shi because suna kan sake wannan chemical din har yanzu. Yanzu ruwa ma ba mu iya shan ruwa ba. Mun koma muna shan bottled water. Yanzu ba dama mu using ruwan borehole da muke da shi yanzu saboda yana affecting nashi. Gaskiya tunani na nan gaba, ina tunani nan gaba zan bar nan anguwan. Saboda ba zan iya ci gaba da zama da wannan abun because wannan abun illa ne ga garinmu dukanmu. Illa ne sosai.
Despite the impact on health and ecological destruction, Kapam residents have yet to receive any form of compensation or assistance from KRPC. It's been 3 months since the first reports of chemical emissions, and still there have been no response. The Ministry of Environment, through the state government, have been working to engage KRPC, seeking compensation for communities' losses.
We had a very good discussion, and the refinery apologized and ensured that they will take all necessary measures to make sure that such will not happen again in the future. They must make sure that they will continue with their routine monitoring of all the facilities and equipment around the area. And those chemicals that are not supposed to be kept for that long period of time, they're supposed to discard it to avoid accidental discharge. Why will you keep something for that period of time, over 20 years, for what? You understand? So we agree with them, and we said of a technical committee, they are on it now. They are working to ensure that, yes, they really come up with their findings so that the necessary thing will now follow. That is the area of compensation, even the corporate social responsibility and other things that are required. As at that time of visit, we discovered that some people are battling with their health. We convey some of them to Barodiko Hospital here, and some of them receive medical treatment there. It's part of the resolution reached with KRPC. They should ensure that all health issues, they must make sure that they handle them accordingly.
The refinery is yet to make any public statement addressing the issues and concerns raised by the community. According to reports by the community, KRPC has only taken samples for laboratory tests to assess the level of impact on the soil and promised to get back to the community. 3 months down, the results have not yet been released.
Because here we are not trying to confront the NNPC. We are not staging protest to the NNPC. We are using our usual way of understanding. And if it refuses that, there are other ways that we can seek for redress of this issue. And I don't hope it gets there. I don't hope it gets there. We requested audience with them, and we were told that the manager in question fell sick during that period. We were sorry for what happened to him. But again, we are still waiting for them. 2 days, some days were given to me that the management will call us to have a kind of an interface. Up to now, I have not heard from them. You see, I always tell them that gone are the days where you use divide and rule. If you stick to somebody that may pretend that the community is aware or something like that, without following the proper channel, we have our traditional leadership, we have our associational groups, we have people that are responsible for any discussion. So by the time you just pick anybody by the roadside and engage him in discussions, that is why you find out that things don't work out the way they should. Not really that the management doesn't know the right people, but because they want to cut corners. But now it's not the right time to cut corners. You see, what we are calling for, you understand, is that this is an accident. It should be treated as an accident. It shouldn't be treated as a compensation or of citing an industry. There are two things here. This is an accident that happened. Everybody saw it. Then what do you do to somebody to cushion that effect of accident? He needs food. He has done his own by cultivating his land. And you came and destroy it. You understand? So it is neither the fault of the NNPC, I'm sorry, and neither is it the fault of the community. But because we are government too, I think there are provisions for such emission. The laws have stated it clearly. There are provisions. Do they want us to remind them of the law? Do they want us to show our anger? Remember, in the community, there are people that will not understand what they are talking about law. There are people that we are telling them to take it easy or lightly, not because they don't have power to do one or two things there. But once we are tired, we cannot hold them because we don't have the capacity to feed them. Do you mean since that time now the crops are destroyed, they don't have source of livelihood? Even with the advent of insecurity in the region, they can't go far. Those that have little to cultivate around their area, still it was destroyed by chemical. I thought by now NNPC should live to their expectation. If they order a compensation that they think they should be given to the community, they must have started something great now. So I'm not missing word. There are times that we may not have the strength to hold back the strength of the people.
Trust TV's effort to get KRPC to respond to the plight of the community was to no avail. We were told by staff that they were directed not to speak on the issue. KRPC is under the control of NNPC in Abuja, and if KRPC is not permitted to speak, maybe the staff at the headquarters will speak. Trust TV wrote to the NNPC requesting an interview. There have been no response from the NNPC also.
Unfortunately, there's nothing, absolutely nothing. Since where this chemical explosion occurred in this community, definitely we have not received any help or food items in any organization. Since when this thing happened, they just forget us, and people in this community are hungry. Everyone is hunger presently now because all our farms, crops were damaged, and the farms we have in this community, everything was damaged, and there's nothing in this community that any of the members harvested. Everything is damaged and there's not any help from anywhere. We are just stranded.
Jai nainu ohwane be ama baba hi ba ku be na indini yan bala kinji bala nuaji bala ya ka ba bo waka ba le ba mu ba yin ko ji ba je she chemical ho kwa kala leki yi ba no ha ya kwa hwano ama hailai ko ai na napa ina hwa ku ba na napa elen kara ite sha napa ne lo. For
generations, Kapam community in Kaduna had relied on its land, water and natural resources to sustain its people. But for months, since the devastating gas emission, the people of Kapam are left wondering, where is the justice they were promised? Farmers have lost entire livelihoods, with families forced into poverty. For Kapam, time is running out. The question remains, when will KRPC finally respond?